Okay, this is from People magazine. When Ashton Kutcher arrived at the home of his date on February 21st, 2001, 221-2001, weird, he was more than 2 hours late, and he was 23. Kutcher had planned to meet Ashley Ellerin for dinner at 8, but got sidetracked by maybe sidekick Bear. Now I'll just read what it says. Watching the Grammy Awards with friends at actress Christy Swanson's house. I don't know who that is, but she sounds like a real whore. The date never happened because Ellerin was brutally murdered that night. Prosecutors say suspected serial killer Michael Garglu was the young woman's killer. This is when things get very interesting. Kutcher took the stand Wednesday in Los Angeles to recount, with his mustache, the fateful night, and he described arriving at Ellerin's house between 10:30 and 10:45. He knocked on the door. No one answered. There were lights on, so he tried the door. It was locked. I assumed she had left for the night, and I was late, and she was upset, he testified. I just assumed she had gone out with her friend and bailed. Before he left, Kutcher, who at the time was in the middle of a successful run at the 7 show, not true, very beginning of the run, his celebrity started spiking after this little incident. I saw what I thought was red wine spilled on the carpet, he testified. But that wasn't alarming because I went to her house party days before, and it was like a college party. I didn't think much about it. Kutcher, who is now married to actress Mila Kunis, is one of more than 100 witnesses. Okay. And the killer claims he did not murder this chick. My fingerprints were at the door and I was freaking out, he testified, Kutcher. I told an officer, let me tell you what happened. Kutcher was never a suspect in the woman's death. Kutcher heard the crime on the following day. He reacted because he had touched the doorknob. Let's put this all together. Ladies and gentlemen. Just as a bunch of bears were called sleuths. Okay, if you're going on a date with a chick and she doesn't answer the door, do you try to open the door to go into her house? They weren't together, but he was going on a date with her. So, all right, let's say you're going to pick up a girl, you knock on the door, and they don't answer. Do you then try to open the door? I don't. Then, do you start peeping in their windows? So, what is it, Ashton? Is it like a no biggie? She bailed? She bailed and went out with a friend, no biggie. I figured it was just a no biggie. Or did he try to open a door and then look through windows and see blood on the ground? By the way, I've seen spilled blood. I've also seen spilled wine. There's a big difference, right? So if you see spilled blood on the ground and you think it's wine after you're peering into a woman's house that you have a date with that night who ends up being stabbed 43 times, you have your fingerprints on the doorknob and you're not even questioned by police. Girl, but to not even be a suspect when your fingerprints are on the door, you were at the scene of the crime, you saw blood on the ground, you thought it was wine, and you didn't report it to anybody until the next day, you realize that you've done something horribly wrong because your fingerprints were left at the scene on the doorknob. That's just so weird. I'm not saying he did it. All I'm saying is the fact that that story wasn't even talked about. And that's when things really go down with the power players, right? You got some people who come in and say, hey, kid, and he might not have done it. I think there's a decent chance he didn't kill the girl. I'd say it's around 50-50 if I was a betting man. Just because I haven't heard of anything since. And it's usually a pattern. You know, people don't just stab a chick 43 times and once. I don't know. Maybe there's something that's been hidden. I don't know. I was on a TV show for a season, though, where he was a demon whispering in my ear to do terrible things to people. I know, Sidekick Bear. That's what you currently do to me. Right now, he's behind me just telling me stuff. Even if he didn't do it, he should have been a suspect. Of course. Did he call her? Yes, he did. There's almost no window when the serial killer could have went in. It was between like 8 and 9:30 was the only time that, because she told, I'm going to retract my 50-50. I think the odds he killed her are like 80. Because she told Kutcher that she was just getting out of the shower at 8 o'clock. And she was like ready to hang. And he was there at 10:30. And he saw the wine, allegedly. That's a very small window to for a serial killer to just have. That means the serial killer was there when he was there. That's just very crazy. Spider above bear? There may be a spider here. We will use a private bear chat soon if you want more. Oh, yeah, there'll be all that stuff. He was late. Yes, he was supposed to be there at 8:30. He was there at 10:30. Look into it. It's all public knowledge. That's why this isn't too scary to talk about. I used to think that someone was going to kill me for some of this stuff, but I don't know anything that you can't Google. I've just realized that people are painfully stupid or unmotivated. I was talking about Einstein, marrying his cousin. Einstein had an affair with a Soviet spy while he was married to his cousin. And by the way, that wasn't just his first cousin. It was his cousin on both sides of his family because Einstein was a product of incest. I was also talking yesterday about how they found like a bunch of cadaver bones under Ben Franklin's house. And everyone's like, where do you come up with these things? I'm like, Walter Isaacson for Einstein and then public knowledge about Ben Franklin. Like this Ashton Kutcher story I've talked about before on the stream. Apparently no one knew about it. But it's kind of like Martin Luther King Jr. I talked about a year ago about how he's a wizard and he banged everyone. He's a homo and all this stuff. And everyone's like, oh, Big Bear, you conspiracy freak. And then it just came out like a week ago in all these major publications that he was just a full-blown sex addict, psycho. Franklin was a total deviant. Yeah, he was a perv. He was a real weirdo. Smart guy, though. What did Kutcher do? I don't know. But it's odd that he was never a suspect when it's so obvious. It's like, so he's at the scene of the crime. He sees blood. He tries to open the door and look in a girl's window that he doesn't even know very well. And then right after, he gets a meteoric rise. His career gets a meteoric rise. Okay, so Hoffman.